This video is called Your Heart as Light as a Feather. So it's early in the morning here in Vermont, and it's generally pretty dark, and hell has frozen over here. So I'm doing my best to put on some lights and make sure that you can see me. Your heart as light as a feather. So in this video, I want to thank everyone who responded so kindly about me being on target. If you watch the last video called Leaving Central Jail and the video before that, which was the Russian Roulette of Reincarnation, and the playlist called Defunding the Matrix, you'll have more information about how I've arrived at this, what I'm going to call gnosis, which really, that's just a term, which I don't really like labels, but it's that 18 inches from your mind and everything you've been told to your heart is the longest distance you will ever travel. Listen to that again. That distance from your mind to your heart and the divine spark inside of your heart is the longest distance that you will travel. Some of what I've been presenting at my Lalitakaroli Facebook page is the neurobiology of the brain and the whole human spacesuit. So the human spacesuit is designed to need to order things by mythology. And those mythologies, as the Rockefeller family instructed, if you tell them a lie big enough, they'll believe it. So you have to go back in my videos quite some years and listen to the introduction of where the American Medical Association came from, where public education came from. They all came from that Rockefeller family. And some of those videos are only on Vimeo because, of course, they got removed from YouTube. So my Vimeo account is called Galactic Astrology. But the mind and the human spacesuit, according to the ancient Gnostics, this human body, this meat suit, was created so that you would believe the lie of the hologram. So your body and your brain and its mental modifications of mind stuff based on all these distractions that we've been indoctrinated with, if you flip every one of them and look at the other side of that, so just flip something really obvious. The earth is flat, the earth is a sphere. There is the divide and conquer. The earth is flat, the earth is round. The earth is neither of those. The earth is a hologram that we are making up based on our biology, the shape of our eyes. And there is some really great evidence in this book, The Holographic Universe. This was written many years ago, but it has some great information about the shape of our eyes and how our biology sees the hologram. But if you get into the debate of the earth is flat or the earth is round, you're lost, you see, and your biology is put together to argue and be right about something. This whole realm is a fiction. So if somebody asks me how I know something, it's because of my experience in my heart. And the closer that you are to the heart and less distracted that you are by all the junk that is given to us, the more clearly you will see with your heart. Not with your human eyes, not with your human senses, because those are part of the trick, which I'm going to talk about today. So I'm going to show you, because sometimes images help. Let's see if we can get that image. I've explained before that Polaris is the projector of the hologram. This was also really clearly explained in a video that was in my blogs by a Mason, that this is all a projection. They know what this is. And within that field, they get to play with the creator of this projection, who is the lead archon called Yaldabaoth. And I'm going to show you a picture of that too, so you can start to understand with the eyes that you're just seeing these graphs, but you have to see it with your heart. Again, your heart must be as light as a feather. So you can't be distracted and bothered by what's on TV. You can't be distracted and bothered by all the obvious satanic stuff that's coming forward, because you're in Satan's realm. And if you don't believe that, I really don't care. Honestly, the thing for me is that if you don't have the ability to see with your heart, you'll never see. And I'm not trying to convince you. You'll either know with your heart or you won't. And that is fine with me, okay? I'm not attached to your perception of me or anything that I'm saying. The other thing I want to show you is the 12-dimensional structure within that. So if you put that 12-dimensional structure within that inverted pentagram, and then again, you line up that 12th dimensional structure, which I have seen the geometries for this 12th dimensional structure, you will see that heaven, nirvana, the void, what's called enlightenment, are all within the hologram of the matrix. So that's something I wanted you to just see with your eyes to understand what I'm talking about. How do I know that? Because I've experienced all those different astral and etheric realms all the way through the void to what you would call samadhi or enlightenment. And I've realized that all of those different levels, which held aspects of me that you would call my higher self, are sitting in those different levels. And as I've said, I've divorced myself from whatever those other aspects are that agreed to this prison system. And now there is only me, I. And as such, if you go back through the videos, enormous amounts of power came into my body because all of those other beings who may be aspects of you are also trapped. So if you let go of talking to guides or ancestor or power animals or what people call higher self, if you stop talking to anything outside of you and asking for that guidance, you'll have a freer, clearer heart, because I'm not agreeing to whatever that is in the what are called the higher dimensions that are enforcing my physical meat suit to go through the slavery and trauma that happens here. So if you can really rely on yourself and be your own authority, don't believe me. Either this is absolutely true in your heart or it's not. If you're starting to go, oh my gosh, there's an insight there that I've never been able to express, and she's saying it, meaning Lalita, me, that I'm saying it, then continue and do your own research and come into the silence and truth within your heart. Not what your brain interprets, because your brain is incredibly distracted and is getting into those arguments. Is the earth flat? Is the earth round? Remember, they will play both sides, just like the Christic path is the same as the satanic path. They're both trying to trap you within this 12th dimensional structure, all of which is a hologram. And that's explained really well scientifically and with paranormal researchers through this holographic universe. When you get to the near-death experiences and the beings of light, you'll see that they're completely tricked, but there are so many amazing researchers. One of them is the Sanity Machine, who is just looking at these pre-birth experiences and these near-death experiences and showing how hundreds and thousands of them are exactly the same, meeting these alleged beings of light, getting hit with the love bomb, and then feeling like you're in heaven and that, what we would call God is here. And yet they're in that 12th dimensional structure of the matrix, which is the trap. If you want to be trapped and you find this a wonderful divine experience, go ahead. But then I think really, I think with my brain that you're not reaching your heart. Because if you were reaching your heart, you would be quite concerned about the suffering and the trauma that is here. If you were in your heart, you would be feeling the sadness for the people, the homeless people who recently died during the polar vortex, trying to put themselves into dumpsters and get warm somehow overnight. If you are not saddened by that and you're just trying to raise your frequency and manifest some positive 5D experience, go ahead, but you're in your mind. You're not in your heart. So I have already addressed the secret, all of those manifestation doctrines. Go ahead. If you want to make deals with the devil in a realm of suffering and manifest some fabulous mansion reality for yourself, go ahead. Okay? And I have a bit of sarcasm, really, because I am amazed at the amount of people who want to believe the lie. I am just astounded. But then when you look at the neurobiology of the way you are created, you were created by the demiurge to believe all these mythologies, all of which, if you read them, like the story of Kronos or Saturn or Uranus and Gaia, it's all about eating their own babies. Those are the mythologies. They're telling you straight out what this realm is. If you're willing to think and then feel with your heart, is it okay to be in a realm whose mythologies begin with the eating of your own children? And then you won't be so upset by what's going on in the Grammys, because the Grammys are just telling you exactly what this realm is. And of course, I don't even know what the heck the Grammys are, but everybody shared their demonic pictures. As above, so below. So if you're fighting the system and arguing, why are they lying to us? Why are they putting the satanic stuff straight up on like the biggest show on TV? It's because you are deceived. This realm is very well known by the tricksters who want to stay with Yaldabaoth in eternity. The game is, remember, as I said, who allowed this was one of the questions. Well, if you read my last blog before my website was taken down, I explained that the oversoul, the absolute, the source of all, which is love, allowed Yaldabaoth and the archonic impulse to play this game. Sophia surrounded Yaldabaoth. This whole material realm was created, and then Sophia left. That's in my videos. Yaldabaoth and the archons, who are the planets are the archons, make up the holographic terror experiences that feed this matrix. And it's very clear that if it was all about love and freedom and happiness and beauty, then there wouldn't be a population sleeping in dumpsters at night during the polar vortex. That would not be allowed. So you have to ask yourself, where am I? Really, where are we? And don't get trapped in it's either this or that. It's not flat and it's not round. You're in a machine. It's called a matrix. Now, I have also read Howdy's book, which is excellent. Okay, Howdy has a lot of questions about the reincarnation trap. There was a whole section in here I had to skip, though, because I have never watched any of these movies. I've never seen The Matrix. I've never seen Dark City. I've never seen Monsters Incorporated. I've never seen The Truman Show. I've never seen Westwood. I am not informed by movies. I'm informed by the nothingness that is inside of me. The nothingness which is my home, which I am going to return to. By that quiet stillness in my heart, which is why I refuse to argue. So if people are trying to put up debunking videos about how the earth is not flat, I just delete it, folks. Because I also realize that the next hologram, which I've explained, called the metaverse, will have us all arguing as holograms, and will be feeding from those arguments that are on the internet. Now, this is all the internet anyways. We're in this strange, etheric computer. So all the arguments up until this point had to be done with your flesh. The next matrix is that you won't even have a chance to die. Please do your research about what the next matrix is. I read a tiny little question and answer from a guy named Wes Penn that Michael put on my page about Orion. His book is called The Orion. And he's saying the same thing I am, that we're going to the cyborg race. The whole of the multiverse is incredibly freaked out by the human becoming a cyborg in an eternal death matrix where you can never get out. This is the lifetime to get out. How do I know that? I listen to my heart. I feel things. I'm also living a very quiet experience. People send me thousands of videos. I watch maybe 20 minutes of one video per week. And last week it was Howdy's. No other. Okay? Because the more that you're mixed up and distracted with all these different views, the less you will be able to hear with your heart. And your heart has got to be as light as a feather to get out of here. So if you're all kinds of confused with different dogmas and religious doctrines and spiritual cocaine, then you're going to be confused about this realm. And whatever is your experience here will be your experience on your exit. Get really clear. I suggest that, yes, like Howdy, you spend about 50% of your time doing what you can to be comfortable and less traumatized here. And then the rest of the time, really exploring, finding out what is it that I need to do to get out of here. As Kisena said, the whole of the game is to find the exit. That is your purpose. And if it's not your purpose, continue to enjoy Yaldabaoth's realm. I have a picture of Yaldabaoth. I don't suggest that you read this book because it's a black magic book. But this was the book that Jason of Archaic said he read several times and had to then live by this book. This is the book he suggests that we all live by. And I'm going to not live by this book. This has got all the devilish agreements with the so-called gods. This is a picture of Yaldabaoth. And Yaldabaoth is neither male nor female, but is both. And we are starting to see that expression exactly, right, is coming out in the realm. So now we've got all kinds of persons with their performances in, elementary school showing, what Yaldabaoth is. Doesn't that look like what just happened on the Grammys? Doesn't that look what most people are complaining about, that they don't want to see the drag persons in the elementary schools talking about their sexuality to 5-year-olds. Yaldabaoth's realm is revealing itself. If you just feel with your heart, instead of getting into all these mental constructs of Dolores Cannon's baloney, all the other spiritual cocaine baloney, all the religious dogmas, all the gurus who did not understand that our freedoms were being taken away and they just kept going with the marching orders. I now agree with Howdy that most of those gurus are non-player characters. So I always called them non-source players, non-player characters. All those gurus are the gatekeepers of the prison realm. Okay, they're telling you, oh, you just need 40,000 more lifetimes until that you have your realization. You're already realized. You were born enlightened, meaning in the void, you're absolute, pure, perfect, and can never be changed. But what happens here is the soul fragments. It fractures so deeply that you forget that you're already that. Tat vam asi. Thou art that. You're already that. And if you feel it in your heart that thou art that, that's the divine spark calling you home. Get out of this realm. Do not go into the eternal death matrix, which definitely is hell, of Yaldabaoth's realm. So this is a really important period of your soul's experience of realizing everything we've been told is a lie. And that's what I really like about Howdy's book. He's just going, everything's a lie. And he has some really great quotes. This is by Richard Rose, who I might read next. He was a philosopher. Richard Rose says, "This is not a school. Why would an omnipotent being," that's you, "create a bunch of ignorant people and then torture them to make them better?" Torture! It's going to make you grow and evolve. You're going to learn from this school. Or did you get tricked by a recruiter like Dolores Cannon into coming here? And then you get inside of that 12th dimensional structure and you hit the love bomb when you do the NDE, and you love all the feelings that that passionate ecstasy has for you, which mimics itself actually in love relationships, which end up being fatal attractions and misery. I would say that that reminder that you get here when you fall in love with someone and you're like out of your mind and you have no idea how to respond, but you're just going wherever that person's going. That's the same trick if you go down the wormhole technology to the machine elves. You'll get tricked. And if you listen to the near-death experiences, they all get tricked because they get that same feeling of passion and love, and I want to be with you, and I don't want to go back to Earth. And then there's all these deals being made. Do not consent. Just like in this last couple of years, you had to have your own authority. You had to know your own heart. It's going to be the same because it's always a mirror, as above, so below. So whatever is happening in those 12th dimensional matrix structures, you'll see it play out here, and you'll have to know your heart and your own authority and the truth of you. And your lightness of your heart is that all of this is a fiction. So like Neem Karoli Baba said, all of this is a lie. It's an illusion. It's Maya. None of it's real, and it's central jail. And your point is to get out of central jail. Let's talk a little bit about the hologram and how those beings who realized that it was a hologram could prove that it was a hologram. So just experiential evidence, because remember, all of the world of science was created by the captors. Okay, the Rockefeller Foundation created all that science and public education for the Matrix to keep you trapped here. But Neem Karoli Baba had some interesting experiences. And remember, it's a fiction, so he didn't really want these recorded in the book that Ram Dass produced. But Neem Karoli Baba could get out of any room. So some of the really interesting stories, if you do read The Miracle of Love, is that if Neem Karoli Baba was invited to a wealthy person's house, they would often lock him in a room. Like they would lock the door, seal the windows, lock him in, and try and keep him. And he was a great player of the game, so he would agree to it. He'd go into the room, they'd give him some nice food, and then he would escape. And nobody knows how he would escape. And they'd be looking through the keyhole, and he would be gone. Because Neem Karoli Baba knew that his physical body was not real. So he was like the ultimate escape artist. You could not lock him up. The other stories of Neem Karoli Baba is that he could be in several places at the same time. So there's these events called bandaras where you feed all the people. Everybody needs to eat, everybody can come, and Neem Karoli Baba would feed everybody. And he had this saying, feed everybody and love everybody. So bandara was his big deal. And he could be in several different locations at the same time. So they would say, oh my gosh, we saw you in Vrindavan. How are you in Vrindavan? And then how are you also in the mountains? So he was reported, and really there's evidence that Kabir, my second husband, and Chaitanya collected that he would be in several places at the same time. That's called bilocation, because you are not this physical spacesuit, but you're a hologram, and you can put yourself anywhere that you want to be. That is also how you can understand the 12th dimensional structures, is if you know how to journey in the astral, in the etheric, to the void, you can see those different layers, all right? And that comes from the silence and the stillness inside the heart. The other interesting story of many that were recorded was an elder woman from the mountains came to see Neem Karoli Baba in the plains, or in one of the ashrams that held him captive in central jail, or tried to. And she said, what happened? You died. You were an old man. How did you recreate your body? And he would say, yes, Ma, I died in the mountains, and I went into the river and I recreated my body. So, so he would tell these Ma's. And, again, I am in agreement with Neem Karoli Baba. It's all a fiction. It's all a lie. But there is a lot of experiential evidence that he knew he wasn't a body. So he could also transform his body into a brand new young body. The last and final example that I'm going to use from Neem Karoli Baba. And, I was just at Kabir's house last night, and he has all these pictures of Neem Karoli Baba. Neem Karoli Baba wore basically a rag around his waist. He owned nothing and he didn't want anything. He just wore this little white piece of cloth around his waist. He wasn't dressed well. He wasn't trying to be anything. I think he only had 3 teeth. He didn't have a whole lot of teachings. He just emanated that love, that purity that beings wanted to be around. And so there were the pictures of Kabir sitting with Neem Karoli Baba. And I lived with Kabir for many years, so I also understand that essence of why he loved Baba so much. But one of the stories that Kabir tells is when Neem Karoli Baba could manifest anything. And he didn't do it like, a jerk who would try and get you to keep that crystal or keep that manifested Shiva Lingam or whatever. He would prove a point. And so to Ram Dass particularly, who came from a very wealthy family, he advised him not to accept his family's inheritance because, again, there's the contract and the deal, right? And the Babylonian money magic. And so Neem Karoli Baba manifested money, like American dollars, and he said, look, all the money in America is mine. And then he threw it into the fire. And so the point of this is that none of this is real. The paper money is obviously not real and means nothing. And he wanted to show that it means nothing by being able to manifest it and then throw it right into the fire and not be attached to it. So that is some of what I was talking about in the last video with your estate and how not to be in contract here, how to be very careful if you're doing a wedding ceremony that you're not contracting something all the way into the afterlife of the other world within the 12th dimensional structures. So you have to really be a sovereign soul with no contracts that can trick you here. What those are, book a session with me and we can talk about it, but I'm not going to answer those kind of detailed questions. Although you're free to ask anything on the YouTube comments, I cannot get into it. You can book a session and have a proper energy exchange with me in terms of me telling you my experience, because I'm making videos very quick. It's an ice hell out there, and I have to drive somewhere to load them in order to get internet. The next piece that I want to talk about is, so that is the holographic nature. And Neem Karoli Baba had only one teaching, and that was to be here now. That was his only teaching, be here now. And Bhagavan Das, who I was also in relationship with and read his book, which was called Be Here Now, which is how Bhagavan Das was the first kind of American to meet Neem Karoli Baba, and then Ram Dass and the whole crew read that book and wanted to come and meet Neem Karoli Baba. So Be Here Now, I'm not suggesting you read that either, because Bhagavan Das is his own major Maya illusion with cities. He's got a lot of powers in cities that can trick you. But he listened to Neem Karoli Baba that only now exists. So only now exists. And I love Howdy's book because he goes into lots of very interesting theories about basically this is only happening moment by moment, only now exists. And tomorrow we could wake up and the whole hologram be changed and you would not know, because in your human biology, they can put an insertion, okay? And that goes into that video that I shared on Vimeo only about hacking the human biology. It can happen overnight, and it's definitely happening right now because I can feel it. I can feel the morphogenetic field changing right now. So another hologram is being produced right now. People are being uploaded, and what we're seeing and what we're encountering here is going to be managed by the Starlink satellites and the towers. Okay, so the only moment that's real is now. That's why your heart can be as light as a feather. Everything that has happened to you was designed to traumatize you and take emotional energy. So, to me, I didn't watch any of those movies that Howdy has watched, but I have watched Monty Python. And I did so because I had it on a disc and I took care of a special needs adult for 10 years who had no memory. He didn't have short-term memory. He had a little bit of long-term memory from his childhood, but he had a major heart attack and brain injury. So he was always in the now. So we could watch Monty Python, which was his favorite thing to watch, again and again and again. And he would laugh hysterically. And the way that I want your heart to be as light as a feather is that Monty Python movie is so hysterical because they're on this quest to find the Holy Grail, right? And it's impossible. To me, that is the movie of all the movies that explains this matrix, right? And if you watch, they're like riding their fake horses and somebody's like doing the coconut. It's like, that's exactly what's going on here. It's all this hysterical trying to find the Holy Grail, which you're never going to find because it's inside of you. It's that heart. It's that 18 inches from your brain where they've told you're on a quest. You have to find the Holy Grail, to your heart, where you find this also hysterical. And I wrote down this one excerpt from the last scene when they're looking at the bridge of death, right? They're looking at the bridge. We have to cross the bridge of death. And the sorcerer is there asking them the questions, These are really important questions. What is your favorite color? That's like the machine elves, hysterical. And he suddenly turns and says, look, there's the man from scene 24. Because it's all a script. It's all in your astrology. This is already written. You're just playing out the demonic, archonic planets and asteroids that put these horrifying archetypes together. And to me, it's really important to know your astrology so that you can laugh at it. It's hysterical when you start to get down to the asteroids, like with personal names. I try not to reveal my clients. I did have one client, I'll change the name, and she had Lucas, it wasn't Lucas, but she had this name, Lucas, in her 7th house, and Nessus had crossed that. So she was engaged to 2 different people with the same name, both of whom basically shit on her and left her after being engaged. But it was in the 7th house, which is also the house of partnership, but is an opposition to you, which is like the 7th house is also your open enemy. And Nessus crossed it, and both of these guys left her. So it's already written. Look, there's the guy from scene 24. Don't worry, it's in your astrology. It will be there because you are literally in a machine where persons are going to show up. There's a guy from scene 24. Nessus is going to cross it, and maybe you'll get assaulted and thrown into the abyss because you're on the Nessus broadcasting program. It's just so hysterical. So for me, it's the Monty Python movie, right? And then one of the guys at least gets across the bridge of death by tricking the sorcerer, by asking him a question about the kind of sparrow, right? It's so ridiculous. I really, honestly, those machine elves are in a default program. I think that you're smarter than them, and as long as you're not heavy with guilt and shame and deals that you've made here, you just tell them, what are you talking about? All of it was a fiction. It's all a lie. There's no enlightenment except right now. And right now, I know I'm not from this realm, and I'm out of here. But anyways, they get across the bridge of death, right? And the Holy Grail is allegedly in this cave, but the rabid rabbit is guarding it. So then they have to get the holy hand grenade and throw it at the rabbit, and still they can't get the Holy Grail because it's a mission impossible, which is what I've been trying to say in all my videos. It's like, your human spacesuit is designed to have these kind of arguments and sexual misery and terror, post-traumatic stress syndrome. That's what you're designed for, because that's what the archonic grid feeds on. Yeah, there's happiness too. There's joy. There's laughter when you start to realize it's a Monty Python show. So then, somehow the holy hand grenade, the whole rabbit thing, and then they're back out on the side of the scene, and they see the movie guys, the cameras are rolling, and the director says, cut! And they realize the whole thing was a movie. And the police show up, and they're going to be arrested. I just watched the Monty Python stuff. I think it's available on YouTube. You don't have to have a DVD. But play with it like that. And if you know your astrology and you really research it, because some people I work with every single week, and they're pulling out another name and going, oh my gosh, I just meant this name, and then we look it up in the chart. Or, you know, there's so many asteroids now, like what you had for breakfast, it's already scripted. You are literally in a simulated reality. It's a movie like Monty Python, and you can be like, look, there's the guy from Scene 24. It's in my astrology. It's already written. And that's how I do astrology. Okay, I do it with like, oh, here's astrology for the matrix. This is who you're going to meet next, basically. And I've had clients really successful when they see that name, conjunct Nessus, like keeping the door locked and not opening the door. So there is something about knowing exactly what is there and recognizing that that person is likely going to assault you and not going into that. So just let me look over this whole checklist that I had. I think that's everything. I mean, there's sites that I can explain to you about the neurobiology. Those are all on my Facebook page, so I don't think I'm going to reference those sites that talk about how we're basically put together to believe the biggest lie that there is. And that biggest lie is being pushed all the time. And it's one thing, and then it's the next thing, and then that's a lie. So just flip it over and go, look, what if it's not that? And whether it's and neither this nor that. It's not flat and it's not round. It's completely holographic. So your heart as light as a feather. None of this is real. That's why I don't need to do the recapitulation. I delete everything. I'm living in the moment of now, which Barry Long also, who was another teacher that I studied with, I guess some magazine years ago asked him briefly, what is enlightenment? And he said, enlightenment is now. And that's all he said. End of interview. So only the now moment is real. Everything else is mirrors, and it's like hocus pocus reflections trying to get you distracted, trying to get you to believe some spiritual cocaine or some guru. I love how Howdy's book says, just look at all these gurus during the last couple of years and how they could not even understand our relative freedoms being taken away. How could they possibly be leading you to the absolute freedom where you are from, where the infinite void would never be in this process of torturing you for you to learn? That only happens here. So you have to ask, where are we? We're in the Monty Python show, my dear. And let your heart be as light as a feather.